All right, let's dive right in. On town meeting day, if you're a South Burlington resident, you're going to be voting on the proposed school budget for the next fiscal year. We're going to break down all the numbers, what they really mean, and exactly what you'll be deciding on.
Okay, let's just get it out there. This is the number that's been grabbing all the headlines, a potential school tax increase of 8.76%. And yeah, seeing a number like that, it's definitely a shock. It's the big, scary figure. But trust me, it is far from the whole story.
So, the huge question is that number for real? Is that what you're actually going to be paying? Is this whole thing set in stone? Well, the short answer is no. And understanding why is really the key to this whole budget proposal. That's right. The school district, state officials, pretty much everyone involved has been really clear that this initial estimate is a worst-case scenario. You should think of it as a starting point, a preliminary calculation that has a lot more moving parts. So what are these moving parts? Well, a ton of this depends on decisions that haven't even been made yet up in Montpelier. For instance, the state legislature is looking at a massive $115 million surplus, and they could use that to lower education tax rates for everyone in Vermont. Then you've got local stuff, like property appraisal adjustments to keep things fair. And maybe most importantly, your tax bill isn't just the school tax. It's a blend. About 75% is the school portion and 25% is the city portion. So all these pieces have to click into place before anyone knows the final number. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is a direct quote from the district's own documents. It confirms that nothing is final. These numbers are just estimates until the legislature finishes its work. So with that big disclaimer out of the way, let's put the tax rate aside for a second and look at the actual budget. All right, let's get into the budget itself and see how the school board actually got to these figures. What is the district really proposing to spend for the next school year? The total proposed budget, the whole shebang, comes in at just under $74 million. This is the top-line number that covers everything, from teacher salaries and books to keeping the lights on and the buses running. Now, to give that number some context, that nearly $74 million represents a 3.4% increase over the budget we have right now. But, and this is a big but, that total isn't what's paid for entirely by local property taxes. See, the district also gets money from other places. Think state and federal aid, grants, different fees. All of that revenue gets subtracted from the total spending to figure out the amount that actually needs to be raised from local taxes. And after you take away all those other revenues, you get this number, about $61.5 million. Now, this is the final education spending figure. It's the number the state uses to do all that math that gives us that preliminary tax rate we were just talking about. So, to get that budget increase down to that 3.4% mark, the district had to make some pretty tough choices. Let's take a look at the reductions that are actually part of this proposal. This budget includes some pretty significant staffing cuts. The proposal gets rid of the communications and technology director jobs, another leadership position at the central office, and it reduces nursing staff across the district, including the district nurse lead and positions at both the middle and high schools. Details like this really bring home the impact of these decisions. This isn't just a line item on a spreadsheet. We're talking about a person who provides direct care to students in school clinics multiple days a week. It's a really clear example of the trade-offs that are involved in trying to balance a budget. So that's the main operating budget, but that's not the only thing you're voting on. When you get your ballot, you're going to see a second, completely separate article to vote on, and this one is about a surplus from a previous year. The exact amount is just over $2.5 million. This is what's known as the unassigned fund balance from the fiscal year 2025 budget. So what exactly is that? Well, essentially, it's leftover money. It happens when the district either spends less than it budgeted or maybe brings in more revenue than it expected. By law, 100% of these surplus funds have to be allocated for the next budget cycle, and it's the voters who get to decide how. The school board's proposal on this is really straightforward. They are asking voters to approve moving the entire $2.5 million surplus into what's called the Capital Improvement Reserve Fund. You can think of this as a long-term savings account for big projects like major building repairs. Okay, so as we start to wrap this up, let's be crystal clear about the two different choices you'll be making as a voter. They're separate, and a vote on one does not impact the other at all. You're going to be presented with two articles on the ballot. The first is for the school's operating budget we just broke down, and the second is for deciding what to do with that surplus fund. And this table lays it out perfectly. Article 1 is a simple yes or no on that nearly $74 million operating budget, and Article 2 is a yes or no on moving the $2.5 million surplus into the Capital Reserve Fund. Two separate questions, two separate decisions. At the end of the day, these two ballot items are really asking a fundamental question. It's not just about the percentages and the dollar figures, but it's about how you, as a resident, want to prioritize public education and invest in our community's future. It's a decision that's all about balancing financial responsibility with the needs of our students.